Hello and happy Friday. It's another edition of your guys' favorite podcast, Burgers and Brats. A lot to dive into in this new year, 2022. Happy New Year to all of you listeners out there. We got a lot that's happened since I've been on the air. Lots of bowl games that came up. Fantastic games, fantastic finishes. We have the College National Championship coming up this week, which we'll discuss. NFL, the final season of the year until the playoffs, got that extra week, and we are now there. Week 18, gonna break all that down. And then a superstar may be leaving campus in Norman, Oklahoma. We'll break that down as well. I'm also joined by special guest Natalie Honore. But before we dive into all that, make sure you follow on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, TuneIn, Pandora, and anywhere else you get your podcasts at Burgers and Brats. And stay up to date with the latest news on Twitter, Instagram, and hopefully you're watching right now on YouTube at Burgers and Brats. So Natalie, thank you so much for joining me today.
Thanks for having me, Braxton. Let's talk about some football. It's my favorite thing.
Big sports girl.
Big sports gal. Yes.
All right. You want to give out your socials for the people listening?
I think the only one I know is my Instagram, and it's just Nat'l Honore _. It's the only one I know.
All right, go hit that up. So we'll dive right into this. Kayla Williams, freshman phenom, University of Oklahoma. At one point was a Heisman favorite. 2 games into his career in the middle of the season, he has entered the transfer portal. Seems like everyone's going into that nowadays, and the 5-star has now left. Even after playing in the bowl game, he decided to enter the portal. I find it super shocking, especially playing in the bowl game. It really doesn't make sense to go through all that extra month of preparations to prepare for an opponent. And then not a week later, not even that, you decide to leave the school. Not officially leave. He did say staying at OU is an option. Natalie, were you surprised by Kayla Williams entering the transfer portal? It's hard to say.
I was not surprised at all. I thought this was for sure coming. Really? I think, yes, I thought for sure as soon as Lincoln Riley left, he would be next one out the gate. I think he waited a while. I mean, he is a freshman. I think kind of wanted to be a little bit of a people pleaser. Like you said, OU's still in the mix for him, but yeah, no, I'm not surprised. This was kind of on my radar. I figured this was coming up pretty soon.
All right, so you're the one that saw it. I mean, I think most of us expected it, and then once he decided to play in that bowl game, pretty much we all thought, all right, he's staying no matter what. I think this is just a money grab right now. I know lots of other analysts are saying this. Greg McElroy, especially, saying just go see what they're offering, see what these other teams are going to give you. Georgia apparently offered $2 million, some donors for Caleb Kelly. Some of his likely landing spots now: UCLA, USC, LSU, Georgia, and Ole Miss apparently on the radar after Lane Kiffin retweeted a tweet with that saying Kayla Williams needs to come to Oxford. The only 2 that actually make sense on this list for me is Georgia and maybe LSU, but Georgia is the only one that makes sense because you leave Oklahoma. There's not many schools can count on one hand, if that even, who are better than OU as a football program and that you could go win now mode. USC, they're 4-8 last year. UCLA is still barely winning season. LSU is just a dumpster fire like Texas. It's just ran so poorly. Georgia's the only one that makes sense to me. Where do you think Kayla Williams would land?
Definitely think he'll go SEC. I would be shocked if he went anywhere else. Georgia, I think, is at the top of my list too. I think, he had a great first year. I mean, like you said, Heisman favorite after starting 2 games. I'm thinking Georgia's probably top of the list. My sneaky pick that I think maybe could sneak up there would be LSU. I feel like there's just something about it that, they're, transfers are
Corn
attractive.
dogs. It's the corn dogs. Is that
It's
LSU? Or is that Ole Miss? That might be
What?
Ole Miss. Is the corn dogs Ole Miss or LSU?
I have no idea.
It's Ole Miss then. It's Ole
I'm not
Miss.
a big corn dog fan, so I'm not I don't know. There's something about LSU. I feel like, Death Valley, it's a place to be. I think if he doesn't go to Georgia, I'm thinking LSU might be, that's my sneaky pick. I might sneak up there for him.
I don't like the LSU because you fire a coach after winning a national championship, not even 2 years later. So it's just so poorly ran and administration and such a dirty program. I know you're an LSU fan.
I was an LSU fan. I like Coach O. I think he's a character. So yeah, I think you have a perfect season 2 years ago, and then you fire him. I think it's just I think it's a little bit too much movement for Kayla Williams to trust his career in. But I'll be interested to see where he ends up.
Yeah. My thing is Georgia or Oklahoma. That's my two. That's Georgia's the only program that you could actually go in and probably replace. That's a top tier program. Go replace their quarterback. So OU's though in a good spot. They got this Dylan Gabriel kid, 26 games, 564 completions, 8,000 yards, 78 touchdowns. So he averaged 3 TDs a game and 300 passing yards a game. So that's pretty dang good. He had a really good career at UCF with Jeff Levy as his offensive coordinator, who is now the offensive coordinator at OU. Have you heard about this guy?
I've heard a little bit about him. I did know that the offensive coordinator from UCF came to OU, so I figured OU is on his radar. I figured as soon as Caleb Williams decided to go ahead and enter the transfer portal, he would be next up, to come to OU. So I haven't heard too much about him. I think going from UCF to OU will be a little bit of a shock. I just think, you're playing against some teams. You have the potential to play against some teams, in the playoffs and some bowl games that are just some top tier programs. So it'll be interesting to see how he holds up, but seems like he's going to do okay.
Yeah, I think this Gabriel kid is pretty dang talented. I remember watching him his season at UCF. They've been really, really good down at UCF the last few years. And they had that national championship in 2017. I'm giving it to him. So let's go to the bowl season recap. Where do you want to start? Near 6 bowl games. Arkansas, I want to touch on Arkansas beating Penn State 24-10, down 10-0 at halftime. Sam Pittman's got a really good program at Arkansas that I think they're set for the future. SEC, they're getting more teams, but they're going to be set for the future to come. And Penn State, I just think James Franklin, they've just been on the downhill slopes the last 2 years, and this year, COVID year and this year especially, I just have not been playing Penn State football. But Arkansas looking pretty good. Pittman's their guy. Have you been paying much attention to Arkansas?
I think Arkansas is going to be a dark horse in the next few years. I think they have.
I'm not going that far. Don't go that far. It's Arkansas.
They've had some games recently, like in the last few years. I think they've had some games that, in the next couple of years, I think they'll be a team to watch. Do I think they'll be a top 4 team? No, but I think they'll be up there. I think they'll be a dark horse. I think they'll be, yeah, it's interesting. They've had some games where you really want to pay attention to them, and they have some where, they're just Arkansas. So
yeah,
you don't really know.
Yeah. They had that hot start, but they finished with 4 losses, I believe. So
yes,
they just put it together for a whole season.
I think if they can keep that hot start rolling, I think they'll be pretty solid. But yeah, it's you end with 4 losses. It's not looking too good.
No, and then Fiesta Bowl, number 9 Oklahoma State defeats Notre Dame, number 5 Notre Dame, 37-35. Notre Dame had just a huge lead, of course, blew it. Cohen had a Fiesta Bowl record of 509 yards, 5 touchdowns, and Notre Dame has not won a New Year's 6 bowl game since 1994. 0-8 since then. So Notre Dame we've seen this in the playoffs. We've seen it just in every major bowl game. They get blown out. You see it every time. Notre Dame, they're a blue blood and they're not winning these big games. Give me your analysis on the Fiesta Bowl as an Oklahoma State alum.
I was gonna say, as you know, Oklahoma State, my alma mater, I was super disappointed the first half of this game. It was looking pretty grim. Marcus Freeman looked like he was gonna have a really good start as a head coach debut. I truthfully don't know what happened. Oklahoma State scored 30 unanswered points. That is literally unheard of. Overcame a 21-point lead, biggest in school history. I mean, and that's just insane. I don't understand how that happened. Thankfully, it did. Malcolm Rodriguez, he's just insane. Had an interception, just defensive, absolute monster. Spencer Sanders, redeemed himself after losing to Baylor in the Big 12 through 4 or 5 interceptions in one game. I mean,
that's pretty average. It's pretty normal.
It was at least 4, maybe 5. It was absolutely ridiculous. Thankfully, came back, had some good moments in the Big 12 championship. Big moments after the Big 12 championship. So I was happy to see, the Pokes win. They had some big wins this year. I don't think next year is going to be as promising. There's quite a few key players transferring, declaring for the draft, or just graduating. They're just not going to be able to play anymore. So losing some key players. Jaylen Warren was back for Oklahoma State, which we did not have in the Big 12 championship, which was, he has about 500 yards a game. Our next leader was Spencer Sanders with 100. So, having him back is crucial. So obviously they are who I pay attention to the most, you can tell. But a big win for them. Very happy that they beat out Notre Dame. But yeah, it just seems like Notre Dame just has a bad omen. I just don't think they can win New Year's Six Bowls. I just don't think it's in the cards for them. So, but we'll see. I like Marcus Freeman. I think he had a good start. I think he's gonna have a good year, good first year as a head coach.
Yeah, they'll be okay. They'll be Notre Dame. They're not in a conference, so it's much easier to get wins. So do you want Spencer Sanders back? Let me tell you this: 20 touchdowns on the year, 20, and then 12 interceptions. That's not a good quarterback.
It's hard. I don't see anyone else coming in to replace him, though. I mean, he's only a junior. He was the starting quarterback last year as a sophomore. So I just don't think it's, I don't think it's going to be anybody else to beat him out for quarterback. Illingworth, he played a few snaps this year against Kansas. Didn't go so well as backup quarterback. So I don't really think there's going to be much movement there. So Spencer Sanders, okay, he plays good when he wants to. When he decides that he's going to have a good game, he has a good game. It's a mental game, I think, for him too. I think against Baylor, we just totally lost our minds. Beat him 24-10 earlier in the season. I think, can't hardly score 3 touchdowns on him. So he's not my first pick, but I don't really have a second one. So I guess he's there to stay.
Yeah, I guess if Illingworth was better, he probably would have been starting over him by now.
Yes, I would have to say so. But, I'll root for the Pokes forever now. So we'll keep our fingers crossed. What's the saying? Expect the worst, hope for the best. So here we go. That's how we're going to go into the new year.
All right. Number 7 Baylor beat number 8 Ole Miss 21-7. Matt Corral gets injured just a few plays into this game. And they just completely shifted the game. I think if Matt Corral stays healthy, Ole Miss wins. Both teams are actually pretty even on total yards during this game. But Aranda, he's got a team building in Waco. This team can compete. I expect probably a top 10 start next year in the preseason poll, kind of like Iowa State was this year. I think Baylor kind of takes that spot and moves into the top 10 for the preseason. Abram Smith had 25 attempts for 172 yards, 7 yards a carry for Baylor's running back. Ole Miss, though, they just couldn't get it done in the red zone. They were 0 for 2 inside the 20. You can't win games not being able to score deep down. And then we saw Ole Miss had that, or Baylor had a pick 6 while Ole Miss was in the red zone. So that just completely shifted the game early. Just no points for Ole Miss. Baylor just shut them down, but they did do it against their backup quarterback. Did you watch much of the Sugar Bowl in New Orleans?
Watched a little bit, saw Matt Corral get hurt. That just sucks. I mean, no better way to say it. Yeah, I mean, when he comes back on crutches, not dressed out, I think it's, I think that kind of changed the mood for Ole Miss a lot. There's just something about Baylor, I guess. They're giving people a hard time this year, beat OU, beat Oklahoma State once, they beat Ole Miss. I'm confused at what's going on in Waco. They've got something in the water down there. really confusing to me. I think you're right. I think they're going to take that top 10 spot in the preseason poll. I think they'll deliver on it too. I think Iowa State was a huge letdown this year. When you talk about preseason poll, I don't think Baylor's going to be that letdown. I think they're gonna have a lot of momentum from the season. I think they're really happy with the wins they had, okay with the losses they had. Just keep moving. Baylor's got something. I don't know what it is, but
Yeah, because 4 or 5 games into the season, Baylor was awful. Baylor just looked so bad. They couldn't do anything on offense. You're like, all right, this is the normal Baylor that we've been seeing. And they just kicked it into high gear halfway through the season. So we'll see if that trend continues. And then obviously the best game of the day, number 17 Utah loses to number 6 Ohio State 48-45. Utah was up 14-0. And then they were up 35-21. Rose Bowl is just always a perfect game. Always just a showdown, instant classic, one for the ages every time. CJ Stroud for Ohio State threw 46 times for 572 yards and 6 touchdowns. I believe he was 4 yards short of a Rose Bowl record. Throwing the ball 46 times. Jay Najigba, wide receiver for Ohio State, 346 yards receiving and 3 touchdowns. That was a record. Yes. Both teams, just great game. I think both teams will be extremely, extremely well and going into the next season.
This was crazy. This game was insane. That's a really high scoring game, first of all. I mean, 48-45. That's a lot of points.
It's a big 12 game.
That's crazy. Yeah, you said, Utah had a 14-0 lead, and they had a 35-21 lead. I mean, that's two times they had a big lead, and they ended up losing. I mean, Ohio State, they had, Utah had a kick return for a touchdown and a fumble recovery in the end zone. And those are two, man, when that happens, that sucks. If you're Ohio State, you're not happy about it. So I was pretty surprised that they came storming back like they did, but they missed out on the playoffs. They were number 6, or I have written down they're number 6. I'm sorry, did you say they're number 7?
No, they're number 6.
Okay, sorry. Okay, yeah. I mean, they're number 6. They barely missed out on the playoffs. For a while there, it was looking like it was going to be, they were number 2 or 3 in the country. So I'm not surprised that they ended up winning. I was surprised at how much they were able to come back against Utah. But yeah, I mean, just a crazy
5
game.
stars. That's what you expect out of 5 stars going against these 3, maybe a few 4 stars in Utah, but crazy game nonetheless. Instant Rose Bowl is always just an instant classic game, no matter who's playing in it.
Yeah, no, it's a fun one to watch. It was a good game.
All right, so the playoffs, those happened. Those were awful as usual. Number 4 Cincinnati loses to number 1 Alabama 27-6. Alabama's average margin of victory, I believe, is 26 points in the playoffs, 23 to 26 points. The average playoff first round game is at least 20 points point differential. So these playoffs are never fun to watch. They're never close. This year just kept that rolling. The first 10 plays Alabama ran were runs, and then 11th you throw it in for a pass touchdown. So Bama was just wearing out Cincinnati in the start. Honestly, though, Cincinnati did compete pretty close. I think Bama scored late, but Ritter only had 32 passes for 144 yards. You can't have that and win the game. 32 times for 144 yards, sacked 6 times. Cincinnati only had 64 rushing yards, and Alabama 301 total rushing yards on the ground. Bryce Young only 181 yards, but 3 touchdowns through the air. And Bama actually ran the ball like they hadn't all year. They really relied on Bryce Young with his 46 touchdowns, 4,000 yards. They just decided, let's wear Cincinnati out. They're not built like us. They don't have these 5 stars, so let's just wear them and tear them down. And it worked. Alabama got that big win. What'd you see from the Cotton Bowl?
Nothing surprising. I think everyone wanted Cincinnati to win just because why not? I think that would have just been crazy. I would have loved to see Cincinnati in the championship. I mean, I wasn't super interested in this game, honestly. I figured Alabama was going to whoop Cincinnati, literally just wear and tear them. I will say I think Cincinnati played decent. I mean, I think they, 27-6. It could have been a lot worse. We've seen worse.
Yeah, you run the ball 300 times or 300 yards, you just wear them down and keep that clock rolling so that Cincinnati wouldn't have a chance.
Yeah, it was. I mean, I would have liked Cincinnati to win. I think everyone kind of knew Alabama was gonna win this one. I mean, Alabama's just,
It's Alabama.
that's
That's all you gotta
that's all you
say.
can say about them.
That's
That's
all
all
you
you.
gotta say. It's Alabama.
It's Alabama. That's all you can say. It's all you need to say. So there's that. So yeah, guess we'll get into championship later. So
And then another boring game, the Orange Bowl. Number 2 Michigan defeated by Georgia. Number 3 Georgia 11-34. What'd you see in that game?
Again, Georgia strikes within the first 5 minutes. It's just all downhill for Michigan. I mean, you get rolling that fast. I mean, that's just insane. I mean, Georgia, had an interception, forced a fumble. When I don't know, that fumble, when you force it like that, I feel like the defense, just shows. Everyone says, Georgia's defense is what's going to win them games. But I think they played well after losing to Alabama the previous week in the SEC championship. So I wasn't surprised. I figured they were going to beat Michigan. I was surprised that Michigan was second over Georgia. In the final picks, I thought that was a little interesting.
No.
But
Michigan won their championship. Michigan was the better team.
I think it's fair enough. I just think I don't know. I was honestly surprised. It's all for gigs these days. But I wish Michigan would have won. I would have loved to see Michigan in Cincinnati. I think that would have been absolutely ridiculous. I think it would have been so much fun. But that's all right.
It's gonna get a lot. That would have got a lot more ratings than what this week's about to get. This was actually my pick. I picked Michigan to win this game. I think Michigan was favored too. I know most people picked Michigan, but just no competition either. Michigan was down 27-3 at the halftime. The playoff games are never fun. It doesn't matter. I expected more of a fight from Michigan. But Harbaugh's gonna Harbaugh. He got his 2 big wins of the year. Couldn't really expect a third big win from Michigan because that's what they do. But Harbaugh's got this team pretty much set up, and I think next year will be a pretty good year. I don't know if they can duplicate what they did this year, but moving on to the national championship, we're getting Bama and Georgia. I don't care. I don't even think I'm watching this. I don't think I'm watching. I know many people I've talked to, we don't care. We do not care. We are not watching this game. But Georgia opens up as a 2.5-point favorite. This is the rematch from the 2017 national championship and just 2 weeks ago where Bama beat the brakes off of Georgia 41-24. Georgia, they were undefeated and they won their whole season by 15 plus points. They held 8 opponents to under 7 points. This Georgia defense, and then Bama just goes in and throws all over him. Bryce Young showed us, all right, I'm the Heisman contender. I'm the Heisman winner. Let me just come and throw all over y'all. You guys have this great defensive line, so we're not going to run the ball on you. We're just going to throw it over you. What do you expect out of this national championship?
Yeah, I probably won't watch it either. Let's be honest. I think Alabama's going to take it. I don't know. Like you said, they beat the brakes off of Georgia. I mean, they just didn't give them a chance. Like you said, they're just going to throw the ball over them. You don't want to run through them, so go over them. I think that's their strategy. I don't know why they would change it. So I just don't see Georgia coming back from getting beat that bad by Alabama. I think it's just too hard. Georgia, like you said, Alabama allows 10 more points per game than Georgia does. Their defense is better than Alabama's statistically, but Alabama's offense, can't go around them, can't go through them, just go over them. That's what they've done. That's what they'll do. I won't be surprised. I think it'll be a closer game. I'm thinking 27-21. I changed my prediction from my earlier thoughts. I think it'll be a close game, but I don't think there's going to be any surprises.
All right, going Alabama in the national championship, Natalie is, I'm saying if it ain't broke, don't fix it. But you did run the ball for 300 yards against Cincinnati. I know it's an inferior opponent, but that's a lot of yards against any Power 5 team. So I think they do incorporate the run just a little bit more, but I think you got to really rely on Bryce Young to throw the ball. I think it's going to be a lot closer this time as well. Stetson Bennett has to have a perfect game. 0 turnovers, 0 interceptions, and at least 2 touchdowns minimum throwing through the air. Saban, though, he owns Kirby Smart. Kirby Smart's 0-4 against Nick Saban. I don't see that changing. I think it's 0-5. The Tide get their 4th title in 8 years. Alabama, Bryce Young, monster game. I think he goes 300 yards, 350 yards. Bama wins 34-24 over the Georgia Bulldogs in a rematch from 2017. All right, so anything else to add on college football?
I'm going to miss it. I love college football. It's been my weekend activity for the last several months. So yeah, it's been a good season. I've been happy most of it. I think there's gonna be a lot of changes. I mean, so many head coaching changes, and I don't know if it's because I haven't paid attention too much before this year. But I feel like this year was crazy with
It's not usually like this. It's not usually like this.
I was just so confused. Like I said, this is the first year I've really been into it, watching a lot of games that aren't my team, paying attention, watching the college football picks. But man, I feel like next year is going to be crazy. I don't know if there's going to be a lot of close games. I don't know if there's going to be a lot of blowout games. I can't decide how I feel about it. I think
Don't worry, Natalie. It's the same 4 teams every year. OU, Georgia, Bama, Clemson, Ohio State. Those 5 teams every year. So we took an off year this year, but it'll be back next year. That's just how it always goes.
One can only dream, but just kidding. Yeah, no, it'll be. I mean, it's the same programs every year you see in the top 6 at least, if not the top 4. So, but yeah, I'll be interested to see how next year goes with all these coaching changes. I'm excited. It'll be good.
Yeah, crazy year to get started in watching college football. So
happy I did it.
All right, before we move on to the NFL, make sure you follow on any streaming service at Burgers and Brats, and stay up to date with latest news on Twitter, Instagram, and YouTube at Burgers and Brats. So, final week in the NFL, week 18. There's still lots to be decided. The first AFC playoff spot wasn't even clinched until a week or 2 ago. So we're deep late into the season. Some clinch spots. Tennessee going down in order. Tennessee, Kansas City, Cincinnati, the Bills, and the Patriots have all clinched spots. 2 teams are in the hunt, the Colts and Chargers. So if those 2 win, they're in this weekend. And then teams on the bubble, Vegas, Pittsburgh, and Baltimore. And some of these teams play each other. So those 3 need one of those other 2 to lose. And then the NFC, Green Bay, Rams, Bucks, Dallas, Cards, and Eagles have all clinched a spot in the NFC. 1 team in the hunt, the 49ers, and 1 team on the bubble, the Saints. So 49ers play a already clinched NFC playoff team. So we'll see what happens there. We'll talk about that. So a lot to be decided, and there are going to be some great games in the NFL. Natalie, how much NFL have you watched this year? More college, girl?
Yes. The NFL is kind of like a foreign language to me. I like college. I feel like I can relate to it more. But I mean, like you said, I love a good stakes game. When there's some teams playing each other that are vying for a playoff spot, I think that's always interesting. Those are always good games to watch. So I think that'll be fun. Yeah, not too much NFL for me. We're a Steelers and Saints family, so
that sucks.
It's a tough life to live. No, I'm just kidding. Went to my first NFL game this year, so I've never been before. So it was a good. Maybe I'll get into it next year a little bit more, but I feel like I'm paying enough attention to kind of know what's going on. So
all right, I'll just ask you to make some predictions here.
Okay.
Dallas at Philadelphia. Dallas has already clinched their division. Dallas is actually still a 5-point favorite. Philly, though, is playing much better than what they were playing last time they faced Dallas. let's see, Philadelphia's won, I believe, 5 of their last 8. So Philadelphia has been super hot. Dallas wins. They're the 4 seed right now. If they win, they jump to the 2 seed in the NFC. So a lot riding on this, especially if that 1 seed loses, you get home field advantage. Eagles did have 12 players on COVID this week, so they're going to all be back for this game, but that will probably have an impact on this game and their bodies. Dallas has 33 takeaways this year, tied for first with the Colts, and they have lost the last 3 games that they have not had a turnover. So Dallas, they don't get a turnover, probably not going to win this game, but I expect a turnover with Jalen Hurts and the Eagles. Philadelphia, though, they need to slow this game down with the running attack. Jalen Hurts spread the ball too, and just make sure they run the clock, because the Dallas defense is extremely good. Wear them out, tear them down, and a much better chance of winning this game. But I'm going Dallas, getting a big win, jumping to the 2 seed, 27-24.
All right, I like it. I also gonna go with Dallas. It's gonna be super embarrassing if I get this wrong. Dallas and Philly played right at the home opener for Dallas this year, right?
I believe it was week 4.
Okay, pretty sure.
No, it may have been home opener.
Pretty sure that's the game I went to. Late September. Pretty sure that's the game I went to. Dallas played really well. It was a fun game, so I'm just gonna hope I'm their good luck charm. We're just gonna keep rolling with Dallas for that one.
Yeah, both teams are pretty much, they haven't done a 180, but Eagles have done a complete 180, but Dallas has been slipping down a little bit, so on offense at least. And then next game, San Francisco at the Rams. Rams a 4.5-point favorite. You have a preference in this game?
I'm just gonna go with the 49ers. Don't know why, just have a feeling about it. I don't keep up with these 2 teams, but yeah, not too much interest from me there. So
All right, so 49ers actually been playing really good football the last few weeks. They don't start out so hot. Rams, they win the division. So they're definitely going to go out there and try their hardest to win, even with a clinched playoff spot. San Francisco D, though, needs to force Stafford into these tight throws because he's had 15 interceptions on the year, and he has the most pick sixes by any quarterback this year. The Rams, though, have won 5 in a row. That luck's got to run out at some point, right? You kind of hope you lose one like right before the playoffs, maybe. Tell your guys what that's like and get back on track after that. But can San Francisco keep up with the scoring attack of the Rams? No. But can their defense maybe make a few stops? I'll go yes. I got San Francisco winning this game. Upset. 21-21, and the 49ers jump into the playoffs. So next game, we'll go Pitt at Baltimore. Baltimore, a 5.5-point favorite. Lamar Jackson, I believe, is back. He has not been playing that great of football this year. I know he's had a lot of injuries, and otherwise just has not looked like his MVP self. It's Big Ben's last game for the Steelers. Are you sad about that? Or maybe his last game. Most likely, though, yes.
I am not super sad. I think my dad's pretty sad about that. But yeah, I think with it being his last game, I think they'll just want to. I think the whole team's gonna want to win for Ben. I mean, whether you like him or not, he's Ben Roethlisberger. You know who he is. I think they'll want that win for him bad enough to beat out Baltimore. So I'll go with Pittsburgh on this.
They may want it, but they're about 25th in offense. So we'll see if they can perform. Both teams, though. Both teams are pretty bottom tier on defense as well. Baltimore is just the top 10 on offense. So I trust the Ravens a little bit more. Big Ben is he's not himself. He's not the older or the younger version of Big Ben. He's the older version now. I think Big Ben, his career ends with a loss. Sad to see him go, but it is definitely time. It was probably time last year for Big Ben Roethlisberger to retire. So I'm going Baltimore winning this game. Who you got in the game?
Sorry?
Who do you have in the game winning?
Just because you said Baltimore, I'll go with Pittsburgh. We'll just I can't agree with you on everything, right? We'll just go halvesies.
I don't think they have the offense to win. I could be wrong though. Anything can happen in these divisional games. And then finally, the Chargers head to Vegas. Chargers a 3-point favorite. This is win or go home. Winner goes to the playoffs. Loser goes home. Vegas though, if you go home, you're in Vegas, so nothing wrong with that. Who you got in the Chargers, Vegas? Why don't they just both end in a tie? They both of them could go then, right? You end in a tie, you both go. Both quarterbacks though just complete. Both quarterbacks are just complete identical stats for the most part. Both at 4,000 yards, like right at 14 interceptions. But the big difference here is Justin Herbert has 35 touchdowns for the Chargers, while Derek Carr only 21 on the season. Los Angeles won the first matchup in week 4, 28-14. Josh Jacobs, though, they need a monster game from him. Chargers are 30th in the league in their rush defense. So Raiders just run the ball down their throats. That's how you're going to get some points and just keep Justin Herbert off the field from him slinging it, because they've got a great passing attack there. But Chargers defense, too good. I'm going Chargers 27-17, and they go to the playoffs.
Yeah, this is probably gonna be, one of the only NFL games I watched this week. Like I said, I like a win or go home situation. I think those are always fun to watch. Yeah, I don't know. I'll go with the Chargers. I think, like you said, I think, like you say, run the ball, but I think there's only so many times you can run the ball without them catching on or catching up. So, yeah, I'll go with Chargers.
All right, not much difference in those picks for the NFL that we made, but I'm glad the playoffs are here. NFL playoffs are just so fun to watch, extremely entertaining. Who's an underdog team for you that you could see? Maybe one team that we haven't really talked about. Maybe one of those teams that I was kind of in the middle of the rankings that you could see maybe making the Super Bowl or making a deep run or just winning, making the Super Bowl.
Oh, geez. Super Bowl, I have the Chiefs and the Packers. I would like to see someone other than Tom Brady in the Super Bowl. I think, I don't know. Packers they're good. They're really good. The Chiefs, I like the Chiefs. I'd be interested to see those two play. So I think that'd be a fun game. No Tom Brady goggles for those refs because he won't be there. So that's
Exactly.
that's what I'd want to see in there. Don't know if it'll happen, but that's what I have for the Super Bowl. Playoffs. My heart would like for the Saints to somehow sneak their way in there.
There's a chance. They're on the bubble. 49ers need to lose.
I
And they
think
need to win.
I think the Colts have a chance too. I'll go with the Saints and the Colts. That's who I like to see make the playoffs.
All right. Some of my underdog teams, I know I'll talk more about this next week when the playoffs actually get here and we have the actual seedings. But I think the Bengals, I know they're really hot right now. Maybe it's not really under the radar right now, but Bengals have looked phenomenal the past few weeks. Joe Burrow, Jamar Chase, Joe Mixon, T. Higgins, really good. On that offense is rolling. And then NFC, I think I got the Eagles. Maybe as the underdog, they've won 8 of their last 11 games, the Eagles. So pretty remarkable stuff with Jalen Hurts out there, and we'll get a really good idea when they face a good Cowboys team this week. And then so your Super Bowl pick. All right, we have the same. I didn't know. I've got the Chiefs and the Packers. I really like this one's not an underdog, but the Patriots. I really like them, but just because the Chiefs have home field, you can't beat the Chiefs at home. It's impossible. So that's why I'm going Chiefs on that. Otherwise, I'd go Patriots, but Chiefs and Packers, yeah. We'll see if I think Aaron Rodgers has lost the last 4 games in the NFC Championship in a row. So hopefully they don't lose 5 in a row. It's kind of hard to do, but they've lost the last 4 in the NFC Championship. So both going Chiefs and Packers right now. This may change.
All right.
Natalie, anything else on the NFL?
No, not on the NFL for me. Maybe I should get a little bit more well educated in that realm. So I'll start watching some games just in time for the fun stuff.
Yep, just watch this week in the playoffs. Only a few more weeks to go. Thank you so much for coming on and talking sports.
Yeah, thanks for having me. It was so much fun. So have to come back next year, talk some more college football.
Yes, season's only 9 months away, so we're almost there.
We're almost there.
You want to give out your socials for everyone listening?
I'm on Instagram. It's just Natalie Honore _ So that's just me. That's it.
And we'll have that out on Burgers and Brats. Yeah, again, thank you so much for coming on. Everyone, have a happy new year. Happy 2022. We made it somehow, just beginning of another year. Enjoy the national championship. Enjoy week 18 in the NFL playoffs. Make sure you listen anywhere at Burgers and Brats, Spotify, Apple Podcasts, TuneIn, Pandora, anywhere. And then hopefully check out the latest news on Twitter and Instagram. And hopefully you're watching on YouTube right now at Burgers and Brats. Thank you all for listening. Take care. Stay safe.